My name is Adrian Whitmore. At 38 years old, I owned half the skyline of Seattle tech investments, luxury condos, private club memberships, a penthouse overlooking Elliott Bay. I like to think I had earned every inch of it. That morning, I stepped out of my black Aston Martin, adjusting my cufflinks as the wind cut through downtown. "Morning, Mr. Whitmore," my assistant Claire said, hurrying beside me. "Cancel the 4 p.m., I replied. "Move it to Thursday." As we approached the building entrance, I noticed him. A man sitting near the curb, unshaven, layered in worn-out coats, a cardboard sign resting against his knees. "Anything helps, God bless." He wasn't even looking up at people. Claire slowed. "He's been here all week." I didn't break stride. If he spent as much time working as he does sitting, he wouldn't be here. The words left my mouth casually. Cold. Clean. Efficient. As I reached the door, the man finally looked up. His eyes weren't desperate. They were steady. "You dropped something," he said calmly. I stopped. "I beg your pardon?" He pointed to the pavement. A folded document had slipped from my leather portfolio. I picked it up, brushing off invisible dirt. "Keep the change," I muttered, tossing a $5 bill without meeting his eyes. The wind blew it away. He didn't chase it. 2 months later, my empire began to fracture. A tech startup I had invested heavily in collapsed overnight. Fraud allegations, frozen assets, media headlines screamed my name. Whitmore Capital under federal investigation. I stormed into the boardroom, and "This is a temporary setback," I barked. "We'll recover." But investors pulled out. Banks tightened lines of credit. Phone calls stopped returning. Claire's voice trembled one afternoon. "Sir, we're bleeding $5 million a week." That night, I stood in my penthouse staring at the city lights. For the first time in years, I felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. 6 months later, I was no longer a headline. I was a cautionary tale. Assets liquidated. Properties sold. Penthouse gone. The board voted me out. I packed my office into 2 cardboard boxes. No assistant, no driver. Just silence. I rented a small apartment on the edge of the city. And one evening, after a job interview ended with, "We'll call you," I walked through downtown, past the building I used to own, past the coffee shop where people used to hold doors for me, and there he was. Same sidewalk, same layered coat, the homeless man, only this time. I slowed. He recognized me immediately. "Rough season?" he asked. No sarcasm, no pity, just observation. I stiffened. "You watch the news?" "Sometimes," he replied. I almost kept walking, but something in me cracked. "They took everything," I muttered. He nodded slowly. "That happens. You wouldn't understand." He looked at me. Really looked at me. I used to. I frowned. He shifted, pulling a worn wallet from his coat. Inside was a faded ID. "Dr. Samuel Reeves." My chest tightened. "You were a doctor?" "Cardiothoracic surgeon," he said softly. 20 years. "What happened?" "My wife got sick. Medical bills. I sold the house, then the clinic, then the car." He swallowed. "She passed anyway. Grief can bankrupt more than a bank account." The city noise faded around us. "I didn't know," I said quietly. "You didn't ask," he replied gently. The words didn't stab. They settled. A week later, I collapsed. Sharp pain in my chest during a jog I forced myself to take. I hit the pavement hard. People circled. Voices blurred. Then I heard him. "Move aside." Samuel knelt beside me. His hands were steady. "Adrian, stay with me." "You..." I gasped. "Don't talk." He checked my pulse. "Possible arrhythmia. We need paramedics now." He directed strangers like a commander, confident, precise, professional. By the time the ambulance arrived, he had stabilized me. At the hospital, the doctor said quietly, "Whoever intervened likely saved your life." I stared at the ceiling. The man I once ignored saved me. When I was discharged, I found Samuel outside the hospital entrance. "You didn't have to stay," I said. He shrugged. "Old habits." I swallowed pride that once felt unbreakable. "I was wrong about you." He smiled faintly. "Most people are. I treated you like you were invisible. You treated me like I had no value." He corrected gently. I nodded. "I don't have much left," I said slowly, "but I know people, investors, foundations. If you're willing, I'd like to help you get reinstated. Petition the board. Rebuild your credentials." He studied me. "Why?" "Because I owe you. Because you saved me. Because I finally see you." "All of it," I admitted. His eyes softened. "Help me open a free clinic instead," he said. "There are hundreds like me out here. One reinstated surgeon won't fix that." The old Adrian would have calculated profit. The new Adrian just nodded. Okay. It took months. We partnered with nonprofit groups, used what little credibility I had left to pitch donors. Samuel trained volunteer med students in parks and shelters. We secured a small storefront, white paint, secondhand chairs, donated equipment. Opening day was quiet. No media, no spotlight, just people walking in who hadn't seen a doctor in years. Samuel turned to me. "You didn't need $1 billion to make an impact," he said. I exhaled slowly. "And you didn't need a house to have dignity." We shook hands. Not millionaire and homeless man. Just two men who had both fallen, and both stood up differently. A year later, the clinic expanded. Investors returned, but I chose carefully. Not for image, for purpose. One afternoon, I stood outside the same building I once owned. Different suit, different man. A young executive walked past Samuel, now clean-shaven, wearing a simple coat. Without looking at him, I almost stepped forward, but Samuel just smiled. "He'll learn," he said calmly. I nodded, because I had. "You see, the people you ignore today might be the reason you survive tomorrow. So never judge someone by where they are. You don't know where they've been, or where you might end up."